Hey folks, today I'm going to be talking about why I think PLG is a salesperson's best friend. We're going to talk a little bit today about, what is PLG, product-led growth, and how it really helps address a lot of a salesperson's biggest pain points when they're trying to sell deals into the enterprise. Let's dive into it. Hey guys, Bill Macaitis here, former CMO CRO at Slack, SVP of Marketing at Salesforce, and CMO at Zendesk. I've done a lot of PLG motions over my years, and one of the things that I've noticed is that when you do a PLG motion or product-led growth motion, some teams are going to be understandably a little nervous about it, a little concerned about it, right? They're not going to really understand, hey, what does this mean for me? How is this going to impact my commission, my pay? I get it. This is kind of, a little scary, especially when you're throwing around concepts like, freemium or, giving more of the product away. A lot of times there's a lot of adverse negative reactions to it. And like I said, I think that's totally normal, but totally understandable. So at the same point, let's talk about what is frustrating about sales. So I've done sales. I ran sales. I was CMO CRO at Slack. We ran our sales team there. I've also done sales previously in my life. And a really common pain point you'll get if you do sales, and really frustrating thing, especially when you're selling to enterprise, is when you reach out to a company and they've never heard about you.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want.
They have no idea what you do. They are annoyed talking to you. They're like, you got to start from literally ground zero, with everything. All right, this is our space. This is our category. This is what we do. This is why we're different. Let's start a pilot. Let's get, you're literally starting from ground zero. And it's one of the reasons why, if you kind of look at average deal lengths for different segments, the enterprise segment has really long deal lengths. And there's a number of reasons why, right? A lot of stakeholders, it's bigger dollar amounts. A lot of that is natural. But part of it too is when you start these sales cycles, you're starting at ground zero. So you get 6 month, 9 month, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year deal cycles, right? For enterprise software, that is not uncommon. Along comes PLG. So let's talk about the first reason why PLG is a great asset to a salesperson. And that's this idea of seed and grow that you'll see in a PLG motion. So what seed and grow means is basically this idea of as opposed to having to come in from the top and sell your software wall to wall, which is, a very aggressive goal to get every single person in that company or every single person in that department to start using your software to start off. PLG allows a seed and grow motion. So maybe you have a free plan, maybe there's a free trial, but this basic idea, especially with SaaS, is that, users are going to come in and some are just going to they're early adopters. They've heard good things about your software. They're just going to start using it. And maybe that spreads to a team, right? Maybe that starts to then spread to multiple teams within a company. So we saw this a lot at Slack where we would have someone at IBM started using us in Southeast Asia on the design team, right? And all of a sudden that small design team started using it. And then boom, another team started using it. Another team started using it. Another team started using it. So when you have a seed and grow motion and you're a salesperson, you come in, you already have usage, right? You already have people that know about your product. Again, you're fast forwarding, right? You have people now that you can go to and you can be like, hey, wow, these couple people absolutely love us. I'm going to work with them to help me make intros into other teams. You already have some data proof points, right? Maybe you run some ROI surveys to those teams that have been using it. And it's just you fast forwarded. It's a lot easier also. I think most salespeople intuitively know this, but it's a lot easier to sell expansion than it is net new business, right? When you already have someone using your product, they're more comfortable with it. They're more likely that they're going to expand. That's why traditionally when you see a recession come, enterprise sales teams, SaaS sales teams in general will always switch, or they'll want to switch to expansion business because it's just easier, right? Net new business is harder because you're starting from zero. So having that seed and grow motion is going to give you a fast forward. It's going to make it a lot easier to start getting in for some of these bigger companies that have started using you just on their own. Okay, next, let's talk about another pain point that I see in sales is when you go into these companies, not only starting at zero, but they don't know about you. They've never heard about you. And a big part of freemium and product-led growth is this idea that you can get more and more people to use your product, right? So it's really comes back to the power of the brand. When more and more people are using your product and they're out there, they're talking about that company. They're recommending that company. The word starts to spread much faster about that company. So now all of a sudden, sudden, when you start working with this company, not only do they know about you, but they have a really positive perception about you. And your company is getting mentioned much more often. The analysts are talking about it more. The trade press is talking about it more because you just have a piece of software that's being used all over the place. This is why I'm a huge, huge advocate for freemium. You got to understand, like freemium, there are historically when you do freemium motion, the people that most use it are people in SMBs, small, medium-sized businesses that are always going to be super price sensitive. So a lot of cases, if you're building enterprise software, you're not even like trying to make money off that segment. So the way I like to think about it is freemium is basically the SMB segment is your marketing engine. They're using it, they're talking, they're spreading the word. What you'll also see happen a lot of times is someone is using it on the free plan for an SMB, but they switch jobs. They move into a larger company. And all of a sudden they're like, I love this software. Like, we got to use it, right? So now you have people transferring it. I think if, most of us, we look at our LinkedIn, we've all worked for like some big companies, maybe some small companies, maybe some medium-sized companies, right? But a lot of times we take that tech with us, whatever was very helpful there. So having a free plan means you have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people that are out there constantly talking about your product, right? Think about that. Like, how much outbound you have to do to reach 1 million people and have those conversations, right? I like to think like people on free plans of these freemium products are basically like you've just hired them. They're free marketers. They're free salespeople. They're out there just talking about your product to everyone. And that's hugely powerful. A lot of times company reach out to me and they'll ask for help around PLG. And inevitably, like a lot of times if they're selling to the enterprise and they don't have a PLG motion or freemium plan or anything like that, or they don't even sell to the SMBs, the number of things are like, yeah, Bill, just no one really knows about us. We have this amazing product, but no one knows about us. And part of that is because you only have 170 customers. Now, maybe those are big ASPs and that's still a lot of money, but only 170 companies are using you. Maybe only 50 companies are using you, right? There's just literally not that many total aggregate number of people that are using your product. When you have a PLG motion, what you tend to see, because it's simple to use, because you tend to have things like free trials or freemium, just a lot more people use it and they're talking about it. And that makes your job as a salesperson so much easier. So the third area why I think PLG really helps out salespeople is this idea of PLG being a nurturer. So let me dive into that. What do I mean by that?
I believe in you.
If you're in sales, you know that, hey, a lot of times these are long deal cycles. Again, you're doing every single element. You're the one that's nurturing all these different stakeholders in every single element to try to get them across the line. Or maybe you're in sales, but you're doing expansion revenue. And again, you have to, talk to them all and get them educated on what the new product lines are or what they do, all the different elements there. When you have a PLG motion, what you find is that a lot of that nurturing can happen from within the product, right? So sometimes in marketing, for instance, you'll do in product education. This might be in the login page. Hey, they expose you to, this is the new plan that we just offered and it's got this, and this. Or maybe that's actually within the product itself. Maybe there's an in-product education module, you see it. Or maybe the way you price and package it, you let people try out, new features that are on the enterprise plan. Or maybe, you've built it intentionally so they get 3 usages of this feature every month for free. But if they want to use more, they have to go on the enterprise plan. The basic idea here is that these people are getting nurtured in the background, right? And again, it's saving you time. You can then go in and you can still sales. Of course, you have to work with all these different teams. You have procurement and IT and security and line of business. But when a lot of that is happening in the background, it's making your job easier. So that's the third reason that I think PLG is great for a salesperson, this automatic nurturing that's happening. The fourth reason that I think PLG is really good for sales folks is it lets you focus on the biggest high value accounts. So part of PLG motion that you'll sometimes have is this idea of self-service. Now, I know as a salesperson, this might be really scary, like, whoa, we're going to let people buy it on their own. But usually what that comes out to is like, it's very hard to have an enterprise buy completely on their own for the reasons I was just talking about, right? You have all these different stakeholders, 6 or 7 different stakeholders. That's where you're great at, right? You're great at being able to work these different stakeholders, educate them, move the deal through, find the sticky points, just get it to the finish line. When you have like a high velocity or self-service motion, what ends up happening is a lot of times like those end up working great for the SMBs, right? Where you don't have quite as many stakeholders, the deal isn't quite as complex. And so, and a lot of times again, if you're in sales, it doesn't make sense for you to be spending time on these super tiny accounts. Like you have to sell to so many of them and the unit economics are really sketchy, like if they actually work there. So what I liked is hey, you get to focus on the big accounts, right? Like these are the ones that make sense to do. You're no longer wasting all this time on all of these tiny little accounts. And again, if you're not even doing a PLG motion, again, you're starting from zero on all these tiny little accounts as well, which just takes a lot of time. And so I think like being able to focus on those big accounts is going to help you make more money. It's going to be, again, you're not starting from zero. You're starting much further along the lines. You're there to do what you do great, which is, help identify these stakeholders, help identify where there's pain points, where there are roadblocks, and get the deal through, right? You're not wasting your time on all this start from zero. Like, even what is our space? What is our company? What do we do? You have people that are already using the product. So I think that's super, super helpful. All right. The fifth and last area where I think PLG is a salesperson's best friend is you have evangelists within the company that you're selling to that are already using your product and love your product, right? This is hugely powerful. Imagine a route where you're going to a company, no one has used you at all. Maybe they don't know about you. Maybe they've heard some negative things. You're like, oh, wow, this is hard. I got to get all the stakeholders behind me. This is going to take a long time. Well, now imagine that, and you're a PLG company and you have someone, a team from a big company is already using you. Maybe there's 100 people that have already started using you on their own. And now it's like, okay, how do we get this company to buy more of our product or get it to more users or buy more plans? Well, what we would do is we would find, all right, well, who are the people that love us the most within that 100 people that are already using us? Now, different ways. You can just ask them, talk to all those 100 people. That might take a while. Or you could do things like, look at your analytics. Okay, of all these people, who's using the product the most? You could use like a Net Promoter Score survey, which I love. So send it to all those 100 people and then find, who's scored as 10? Oh, this person scored as 10. And in the open-ended feedback, they said, oh my God, you guys are the best thing since sliced bread. You have transformed our company. Like, I love you so much. That might be a good person. To reach out to maybe ask, hey, would you mind introing us to another department? Like, hey, who runs procurement? Hey, would you mind being a testimonial for us? These people are more than willing to help you out. Like, I've seen it time and time again, and they're going to go to bat for you. They're going to push for, like, hey, we should be using this more widely, right? Like, they are an incredible asset, and you only get that when you have a PLG motion. When you don't have a PLG motion, again, there's no one there using you, right? It's just very difficult, not impossible, but, that's why these deal cycles take so long, right? So with PLG, you get a fast forward there. You literally get this incredible ally within the company that is going to help you sell to the rest of the company. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And I've seen it work time and time again. The companies, all those 5 reasons we talked about, right? The companies that leverage PLG, what they see is their enterprise sales cycles are shorter. They buy more. They love you more. They attrit less. All these good things, because that's like what PLG helps you do. So anyways, like, I hope that was helpful. I know PLG is scary for a lot of areas. I have not seen the case with salespeople. And generally what I see is they tend to make more. These deal cycles, the unit economics improve. They walk in, they already know about it. It's just a much easier sales. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What has your experience been with PLG? Have you loved it? Has something not worked out as well? I always read through the comments and would love to hear. Hey guys, one last thing. So if you like this video, if you want to see more of them, head on over to SaaSCMOPro.com today. That's my official website. You're going to find there my full library of videos. You can sign up, get notified, be the first to watch new videos as they drop. Next, I've had a lot of people ask me, hey Bill, what camera do you use? What microphone do you use? So I've got a full list of all the equipment that I use on the website there. I found for me that really helps improve professionalism for a lot of these Zoom and Hangout calls that I have with my clients. It took me like 2,000 hours to research all this stuff. So you can just skip to the end, find out what equipment I used. Hopefully that's helpful. And lastly, if you are a founder or CEO and you're kind of curious, like, hey, what does a board advisor engagement looks like if you wanted to work together? Again, feel free to go to the website there, SaaSCMOPro.com. It's got all the information on how I structure those engagements as well as how to reach me. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of the day and carpe diem.